That now becomes a substantive motion. Anyone else wish to speak to the substantive motion? So I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. And to the contrary, no. Carried. Thank you. Okay. That went a bit quicker than I thought.
Submission number 39, the Knowledge Bank.
Knowledge Bank. You know, no change to the annual plan, and you're happy to second that. Anyone else wish to speak? Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Wairoa District Council. This is a tricky one, but I will lead the charge. I will move no change to the annual plan for all three, but I have another couple of additions to the motion. No, 3. Space Coast, Education Centre, Space Science Experiential Education Centre, and the Whakamahia Boardwalk. But the two additions to the motion is I wish to continue this conversation with Wairoa District Council with a view to being a partner to future developments. And the second point is depending on the outcome of the scoping study being done currently, keeping up with that? I would like to see priorities set for future discussions and future budgets. Meaning that they're doing a scoping study at the moment. Or is there a seconder for that? Sorry. Thank you. So if I could speak to that. I think the ums should be in there because it shows a bit of humility and etc. I'll speak while the typing's finished, and then perhaps before the seconder speaks we could talk. Look, this is, it sort of came out of the blue. The challenge I have had with this is Wairoa District Council have millions in reserve. And I thought 17 million in reserve. So, and hey, it got there with prudent farmer type management over the last 25 years. So, with the previous mayor and others, and good on them. I mean, they're my rates that go in there with everyone else's. So I'm quite happy to say that. But I think a partnership, you actually front up and both of you wearing your singlet with a spade each and get stuck into the work. And there wasn't enough detail around this to make an informed decision about what a space science experiential education centre really was and what it did. And the Space Coast Cycleway Walkway, you know, that could be a specific discussion going forward as well. But 500,000, there was no sort of plan for that. There was nothing else that went with it. So the two second pieces of my recommendation that I've moved is, let's use this as the beginning of a more productive discussion and a partnership with the Wairoa District Council and help that end of the region achieve its aspirations for both tourism and economic growth. And I think that's a worthwhile place for this council to be. Seconder. And then we'll get it read out.
Mr. Chairman,
What did I say?
Second this with the conviction that we don't have money for giving out at the moment. There is no community facilities fund. These are brand new community facilities that are being dreamt up, and certainly I can see a bright future for Wairoa with it. But there actually has to be a very much better process than just turning up and saying we want this over $1 million. In fact, I think their total request for support came in excess of $2 million that they were seeking from this council, and I don't think that is with that little backing or that little preparation with business plans against it has given us any information to justify going out for any rates increase. It has to be get some sort of funding mechanism in the future to support this work. That does mean a commitment from that council, and I really would like to comment on the cycleway walkway. every other cycleway in this area has been established with extensive community-raised funding. In Napier City, that has been well over $1 million of privately raised money that has gone into that facility. And Central Hawke's Bay has been out there working hard to raise money. And certainly for a while, Hastings, through the Rotary Trust they had there, which wound up after a couple of years, again looked at public fundraising. So I would commend them to actually look at some of those models that the other TAs have used to progress these facilities.
Thank you, Councillor Barker.
I'm happy to second your motion, as long as we understand that having this... Sorry, vote for support of your motion. But I was trying to second it, but I've third it. But I do so, and I hope that we are going to have a wide discussion with them, because I would be happy to spend 2 million, 5 million, 10 million in Wairoa, supporter, if could see that we were going to get growth and development and jobs out of it. And I don't see that necessarily in what I'm looking at here on the board. And what I'm thinking about is Councillor Dick's plans for shipping logs out of the area via rail. Well, there may be an opportunity there to start a new business or support something that's a log processing, etc., etc. Now, that would create jobs. Now, that would interest me and attract me a lot more, because we see we've lost jobs there with the supermarket. So I want a broader discussion on this, not because feeling negatively towards Wairoa, not that I don't think we underinvest in it, but I would be happy to support a package of substantial investment in Wairoa if I could be convinced that it was going to have a positive impact on the GDP, growth of jobs and employment in the area. Happy to invest substantially in it.
Other speakers? We better have that read out. Shall I read it out?
Sure.
There. Declines a request and makes no change to the annual plan. Continues discussions with Wairoa District Council with a view to acting in partnership with them pending the conclusion of the scoping study, set priorities to assist the Wairoa region achieve its aspirations. That's what we're voting on. It's been moved and seconded. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Thank you. The highway, is it?
Well, there's through you, Mr. Chair, there's one more in here to be voted on, and then there's a couple that come under the broad funding request but are not in here. So you've got
the
AMP Society and Wairoa Playground.
Wairoa Playground, yeah. Okay, so, but hang on, we've also, if we're working through the pages in this book, we've also got highway funding for pathway alongside Swamp Road.
We were going to Waipariki open spaces fund, but no waste cost.
Can we make sure that we're using our microphones?
All right.
Yep. Okay, so
So in respect of the submission around highway funding, if that's what you want to look
well,
at,
let's deal with that. It's
yeah.
here on page 55.
Yeah, I mean, that funding's provided to the territorial authorities, not to the regional council, so it's been redirected towards them. Sorry, beg your pardon, page 55.
Page 55 of the agenda.
Chairman, I move no change to the annual plan and that they be advised. Or the, sorry. No change to the annual plan and that they be advised of the appropriate council for the funding for the highway projects.
I'm happy to second that, sorry for the camera. Further speakers? Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. Carried. Now the two that we're missing there, is that correct? Which is the Wairoa Playground from Wairoa Young Achievers Trust, I think it was. They wanted 100,000. Are there any questions around that? We did have this request, I think, last year or the year before, wasn't it? The first round it was, yeah.
Where's
Does anyone know why it went from? I was going to ask them, but you cut me out.
Of course I
Why? 10 minutes. Why it's gone to 100,000? Does anyone know why it went? It was definitely 36 because of.
I don't know why. I suspect it's just gotten bigger and bigger. So. Mm.
Plans we've given today are quite substantially bigger than what the last authority said.
Yeah.
They're compared dramatically, but they are substantial funds at what they are.
And so we were putting in what the total cost was 700 or something, wasn't it? What was the total cost? Does anyone recall?
450.
450.
Wairoa District Council's put in 100. I think they've raised 10,000 themselves. Sorry. I did suggest that perhaps we could. It may be part of the recent government budget announcement on tourism facilities, perhaps. Wairoa would have to be looked on quite favourably in light of recent job losses and that for that sort of funding, I would have thought. But
1 in 4, they were one of the 4 worst environments for young people in the country. I would like to try and do something here for them if we can. I'm not to the limit of 100,000, certainly not. This is something but they haven't actually raised a lot since last time either. That's the other.
no, they haven't. Councillor Hewitt.
I just wonder how this is any different to our earlier discussion with Central Hawke's Bay and the establishment of an open facility, what was it, facilities fund? Community facilities fund would be where this should be directed in the next year round, wouldn't it?
The reality is that the TAs should be able to provide things like children's playgrounds.
Absolutely.
It's core business for them.
Well, that was the last time I was advised. A lot of, to be fair to WDC, a lot of that is depreciation funding for bridges, etc. as well, but it's all in one big pot. Councillor Scott, did you have a recommendation for us there?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to go. I'm sorry. I do actually wish to go with no change to pain and decline though.
You happy to second that? Anyone wish to speak to that?
Lovely project, and I'm sure it'll be absolutely fabulous, but I do believe it is the work of the TAs to provide it. You have a look down the Marine Parade here at the use of the playgrounds here. The fabulous visitors call there certainly adds to it, and it's all been funded by the Napier ratepayer. It's the same with what's the name of that fancy park they have that's closed most of the year in Hastings? Splash Planet. That again, that attracts a lot of visitors, but it's a Hastings district responsibility, and it is time that Wairoa actually stepped up to accept the responsibility of providing basic infrastructure for their residents.
Yeah.
Councillor Pipe.
Yeah,
Oh,
totally.
sorry, seconder didn't get it. You wish to speak? Seconder should have first go.
No, I think 2 points. It's just it's
Would microphone. Sorry.
It's equivalent treatment to what we decided on the CHB proposition, plus it's a good initial corporate sponsorship gift from Rocket Labs.
Tom makes a good point, because although the playground along here on the parade, was substantially funded through the territorial authority, they also had a large bequest from the Harris family that actually sort of started off and gave quite a bit of that impetus to it starting. So, yeah, it's a great opportunity for a philanthropist in the area, or maybe a corporate sponsor.
I just wish to speak because I don't think it's a fair comparison, Central Hawke's Bay with Wairoa. Wairoa is definitely our most needy community. Central Hawke's Bay, we've just banged in 80 mil, we're about to help lift their economy up. And anyway, in the first instance, it was a lot wealthier economy and a lot wealthier environment than Wairoa is. So I think the comparison there is like Rimware and Flaxmere. And I do think, it's a bit unfortunate that we're doing that. If any community that we're involved in needs a bit of a helping hand, it's Wairoa. So I would support giving them not the 100,000, but an amount of money towards their playground.
Moo, you wish to sum up?
Mr Chairman, I'm going to pick up on Councillor Graham's report about the investment, proposed investment, which is not yet decided, in Central Hawke's Bay on a rate of return of 6%. The day we get a 6% return on a child's playground, well, we'd probably meet Father Christmas in person, wouldn't we?
Okay. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Oh, no. Thank you. And the next one on the list is the A&P Society, 75,000. Any questions around that? You move, there's no change, Councillor Dick. With your microphone on, please, if you're doing that. First, are there any questions? You move, there's no change. We've seconded for that. There's no change to the plan. You're happy? Okay, you're happy to second that. You wish to speak?
Well, if we had lots of spare money, then we'd be assisting some of these applicants. But I would put the A&P Society fairly well down on the list, to be honest, because they're semi-commercial, and I just think they should have the means to fundraise themselves, or go directly to their constituent territorial.
Mr. Chairman, whether or not it's a good project, however they fund it, there is no money in the bucket for this. It would be an impact on the ratepayer, and we have not consulted on it, and that would be unfair.
Other speakers? Councillor Bevan.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I will reluctantly support the motion. There are a couple of elderly facilities in Hastings, namely the racecourse and the A&P showgrounds, that are in urgent need of something being done to them. There needs to be some form of rationalisation, in my view, and I think there needs to be a conversation in Hastings as to how that's going to happen. Once all that's done, I think probably I might take a bit of a different view, but it's very difficult to justify treating this particular request differently from a number of other requests that we've received in the past 24 hours. And if you look at the result of our work on the board there are a series of zeros, and I think we're about to add one more.
Councillor Belford.
I would echo those sentiments exactly, and also reinforcing that when there is I put this in the facilities bucket as well, that when there is a plan and when we have a facilities budget, again, assuming we move in that direction, or hopefully will, that this would be, whatever those plans turn out to be, would be a fair contender for funding from that source.
Councillor Hewitt.
Yeah, I'm sorry to see that this is looking likely to be knocked down. I think it is a fair contender for a community facilities bucket, and I wish the A&P Society team all the best with this proposal, because we go there as a council, even I know with the field day that we sponsor, the Fruitgrass Field Day, what is it, the Horticultural Expo, and we're often jolly cold in there. It's overdue time that those facilities were given an overhaul. So with reluctance this year, but I do definitely want to see the Community Facilities Fund put in place for next year.
Other speakers?
I'll just make one point about this. Yes, it's old and tired. It's a stunning facility. It is one of the 2 or 3 top A&P shows in New Zealand. Showcases Hawke's Bay. And one thing I felt a little unhappy about the presentation is I never got a sense from them where they saw this and how they worked it in terms of a structure of assets for Hawke's Bay, because there's a Hawke's Bay asset, but we shouldn't do it in isolation. So what are we doing to make it part of all the other assets we've got in the region? Seems to me that they were just going forward in their own motion and their own ideas, and weren't looking particularly left or right. If I had an integrated plan in front of me, I would have thought a little more differently about it. But it is a community facility. We should have some assets, some money in that for it. But it should be looked at as the province. We are the regional council, and everything that comes here should fit into that regional viewpoint, not as Wairoa or as this or the other. It should be something that connects and draws it all together to justify it as being the regional council.
Wish to sum up? Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Thank you. Right. What else have we got on this agenda?
Okay, so if we go
Chief
back,
Executive.
Mr Chairman, to page